guess I grew up as a techie. I'm a technologist who tried to build websites in the mid-90s when it was actually quite a challenging thing to do. And I think that in the last 3 or 4 years, the biggest challenge has been making organisations wake up to the fact that the role of the technologist gets more important and not less important. The key developments in digital that I think are driving change for business there are several big ones actually, and one is the growth of social. So no longer can an organisation control every aspect of its brand and how it manifests digitally, and social and the use of reviews and influence across consumers is huge. The second big thing really is around identity and the protection of identity. Everybody is very concerned from the point of view of the services that they subscribe, that their data is protected, that it's not used inappropriately, and the organisations that get the balance right between the protection and the exchange of value to the end customer will be successful. The third big thing that I think is quite crucial is that the role of digital to the employee is going to be huge. And employees now come into work having grown up with consumer-based technologies, being able to share what they want, being able to communicate in different ways. And that is, in terms of Generation Y, an expectation of what the employer will provide. And I think that the organisations that are starting to do that are already seeing that is part of the value proposition. It isn't just about reward, it is about the whole culture and environment that you create, and digital's a big part of that. The other challenge they are constantly dealing with is not a greenfield world. The opportunity for a startup to come and disrupt part of the value chain, to come and disintermediate a classic, a traditional business is quite significant. So when I now go on holiday and I go and think, what hotel am I going to book? I go onto TripAdvisor and I will look at the location and I will look at the highest scoring hotel. The next thing I do is then look and say, are there enough people who've commented on that hotel to make me believe that that is genuine members of the public doing that? And if all those things stack up, then I'll make a decision to go to that hotel. And that's made me slightly less influenced by price, and it's certainly made me completely less driven by what their own corporate website says. And so for me, that is a pretty disruptive influence that means that if you're in the travel, hospitality and leisure game, then actually understanding social is an absolutely critical plank going forwards. There is a big problem for large organisations, and we have done some of our own research looking at CFOs, for example, in how they evaluate a business case for delivering digital change. And over 50% of the CFOs of private sector FTSE 250 companies still use the same business case that they use to evaluate any other sort of investment. Well, actually in digital, you can't plan 5 years in advance. You need to create the environment to be more nimble and more agile. And I do think that is a challenge for big organisations. And I think the CFO needs help from the wider board, actually. And I would almost say this is where the CIO either becomes truly an equal at the board and offers the advice on how you can exploit digital, or maybe becomes just a service provider. But there is a need for the CFO to find, if I can use this expression, the right sort of executive friend to work with. I think it's quite tough to expect the CFO to sort of do this on their own, actually.